Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have a great video for you today. Oh my goodness. Uphold on the road to going to an IPO. We're going to hear from JP Terriot himself, and shout out to JP Terriot and the whole Uphold team. Andreessen Horowitz, early Ripple investor, triples down on their investment in the crypto space. BIS gives full backing to central bank digital currencies. Make no mistake about it. This is a game changer, and I believe a huge red flag, and I mean a good red flag, green flag. Let's green flag that. And then we're going to talk about Bitcoin speculative asset. We're going to hear from Gary Gensler, and we're going to hear from Benoit Coyer from the BIS on that matter. And I think that points us in the right direction here. Swift drops a major bombshell. 6 of the world's largest banks are going to the ISO20022 payment standard, by the way, for which Ripple is a part of. Can we just roll that beautiful intro? We got a lot to go over. Here we go.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and get started. 1.3 trillion for the crypto market cap collectively. That is a very low number, ladies and gentlemen. It's no wonder that the market is off now by quite a bit, and it says we've recovered almost 5% for the crypto space at 1.3 trillion plus. But the reality is we've seen as high as 2.5 trillion. So there's a lot of money missing, let alone new money, right? All right, so here we go. 65 cents for XRP right now. We are off by 23.34% on the 7-day. Let's take a look at the range right now. Nothing has changed from the technical analysts. And yes, I do consider them experts because for the last couple months, they have been calling this market, as I've been watching, which I believe is really primed for a huge explosion here at some point. And we are still like sideways ranging, rolling down to lower support levels, but everything is still in play for a $5, $10, $13, $20-some XRP and beyond. So brace yourself. That stuff is not off the table, they say. Looking here, we're at 65 cents, almost flat. We're ranging between 57 and 66 cents right now. We'll keep an eye on it. There is so much information. Look at this. FTX becomes the official cryptocurrency exchange brand for Major League Baseball. How about that one? Looking to bring the masses into this, are we? Well, guess who else realizes that? It's Andreessen Horowitz, an early investor in Ripple and many other companies in the blockchain crypto space, and they have tripled down now at this point, raising a whopping $2.2 billion for their much anticipated Crypto Fund 3. It just keeps getting bigger, and you know what? This is getting bigger too. The Bank of International Settlements, if you're not aware, is like the central bank of all central banks. And they have given their full backing to develop central bank digital currencies. Jack the Ripper here says XRP will bridge CBDCs because it's the most efficient digital asset. I believe this too. That part is speculative. But the reality is that the BIS did give its full backing to the development of central bank digital currencies and the fact that they can coexist with private stablecoins. And I do believe that the way to eliminate the friction in the digital world is to use a neutral reference asset or a neutral bridge asset like XRP to be able to bring the velocity of money to a level that has never been seen before in financial and human history, really. All right, looking here, it cannot be overstated. This is massive, ladies and gentlemen. It says right here, and we need to go through this, so bear with me here. The Bank of International Settlement has given its full backing to develop the central bank digital currencies known as CBDCs, saying they are needed to modernize finance to ensure big tech does not take control of money. Really? Listen, have we not been saying this? This is what we have been saying for a long time here on the channel. This is about control, relevancy, and power for the central banks. They were never not going to do this. It's always been, yes, we're doing it. They have disguised that idea for years now. Oh, well, we're considering it, and there's a study, and then there's a group, and then there's a committee, and then there's a hearing. All of these things are necessary. Let's keep going, because the reality is it's happening, and it's happening for the very reason that we highlighted, and you're about to hear it again here in just a second. Dubbed the central bank of the world's central banks, the BIS, which is coordinating many of their discussions on digital currency, set out recommendations on Wednesday on how CBDCs such as a digital dollar and euro, yen, and yuan should look. And look here, I'm going to skip through some of this. This whole article is amazing. The train has left the station, said Benoit Coyer, the BIS, referring to the move towards central bank digital currencies and its support. It's not that we are getting carried away. We are just looking around. The push comes after physical cash use falls globally, and authorities look to fend off the threat to their money printing powers from Bitcoin and efforts from big tech such as Facebook's backed Diem, formerly known as Libra. And I remind you in this moment that remember, they've changed to Diem from Libra, just as mentioned in this article. And Facebook is going to release a stable coin. They did a withdrawal on the application in Switzerland where they were. They said they're now relocating back to the United States for Facebook's Diem. And they also said, according to Christian Catalini, that they will use Diem as a private US dollar stablecoin, but it is a placeholder token until the digital dollar is ready and released by the Treasury and the Fed. So that is what's going on there. Diem is a placeholder for the digital dollar. Without CBDCs, digital money would become increasingly dominated by big tech firms, Coyer warned, as they would leverage enormous social media user bases. That is a place where you don't want to be, where governments don't want to be, Coyer said, describing it as a loss of control of sovereign money. Well, I can remember people telling me I was out of my mind for thinking this. Well, he just confirmed it. So apparently Benoit's out of his mind like I am, right? Because this is the fact. The governments around the world, whether they get along in diplomacy or not, this is the one thing they'll all come together to agree on. You will not take away their power and control and relevance when it comes to their own money. Bank on it. He just gave it to you right there. This here is the document that was put out that's been referenced here. It's a 31-page document, and every bit of it is straight fire. The foundation of the monetary system is trust in the currency. Digital money as a central bank public good. Come on in. You know, we're going to have something at the end of this video that I think is absolutely pertinent to go along with this, because we're about to look at some other information that is straight fire coming up in just a second. But before we talk about the SWIFT news, which is absolutely massive as well, and I don't believe that any of this information that we're looking at today is mutually exclusive to itself. All of this, I believe, is about rolling it out. And I believe this is what we're seeing. And I believe, and I've said this on the channel before, I believe the SEC Ripple case is a way to legally put a bubble around XRP until the on and off ramps, which are the central bank digital currencies, are really ready to be in place to a greater degree than they are today. This comes from XRP Bully. Says, listen to the BIS media briefing right here. Bitcoin is more of a speculative asset than money, and it has certainly failed as a test of becoming a means of payment. Listen to Benoit Coyer say this.
In the country, but as I guess we've said repeatedly, and that's on top of the excessive energy used to mine Bitcoin. Bitcoin is more of a speculative asset than money, and it has certainly failed the test of becoming a means of payment.
How about that one? It ain't money, and the world does not agree on it that it's money. And then the Maxis scream, well, El Salvador does, and Paraguay is getting ready to also. Well, I think the central bank of central banks is telling them, you're making a grievous error, friends. Right? And the other part of this is that we've got to go back to Gary Gensler and what he has said. And I have been telling people this. And the fact that look, the BIS just told you what it is. It's a speculative asset more than it is money. So what is a speculative asset? I believe it's soon to become a digital asset security.
I wanted to pivot to the issue of crypto, something that you're very familiar with. You taught a whole class at MIT about crypto, and thus far the SEC has not gotten into the business of trying to regulate it. You've made some comments that you think that Congress ultimately will have to do it. What do you think, to the extent that it should be regulated, how would you do it? What are you thinking?
Well, so you're right. I was honored to teach not just one, but a multiple levels of different courses in financial technology and in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I think to the extent something is a security, the SEC has a lot of authority, and a lot of crypto tokens, I won't call them cryptocurrencies for this moment, but crypto tokens are indeed securities.
Did you hear what he just said there? He believes a lot of the tokens, the majority of tokens in this market, are indeed securities. It's at this point I remind you of the Hester Peirce's safe harbor rule, which gives startup projects and tokens a 3-year window to unbecome a security, if you will, right? Because of why? Either a fundraise or the fact that if your network is supported by miners or other entities that run the network, then that is, and then there's investors behind that. You and I buying Bitcoin at 33,000, hoping it goes to 60,000. How does it get there? Just by people buying it? Who maintains the network if I'm not mining it? Well, miners do. Miners maintain that network. So I'm buying Bitcoin hoping to make money off of the expectation of profit off of others. That's what that is. Now, that doesn't give me voting rights as a board member. I understand these things, but these are the soft areas here that I believe Gary Gensler will write issuances and amend those areas to accommodate the fact that these things have utility and they are not in fact shares of a company, but yet shares and tokens that represent the value of a network. Let's keep listening here.
Prior chair had indicated that the prior SEC brought numerous enforcement actions to sort of bring some of those security or investment contract tokens into the rules. But there are some, like Bitcoin, if I can just focus on that, and that's about half of this $2 trillion asset class right now. It's a digital, scarce store of value, but highly volatile. And there's investors that want to trade that and trade that for its volatility, in some cases just for it has lower correlation with other markets. I think that we need greater investor protection there. And we don't have a federal regime overseeing the crypto exchanges.
Okay, couple things. One, he thinks we need to have greater investor protection when it comes to a speculative asset like Bitcoin because of the volatility and the danger of it, right? And then he talks about not having enough oversight over the cryptocurrency exchanges. Let's go two things. Let's take that apart real quick. So one, the angle of the investment being very speculative and dangerous because of the volatility and consumer protection there tells me they deem this thing a digital asset security and tuck it into the dealer broker framework, and now you're within a distribution network and a governance network, compliance network, and framework that already exists. And instead of them trying to write rules and things from scratch for these new assets that aren't commodities, they aren't securities, they're a little bit money, they're a little bit this, they're a little bit that, I think broadly speaking, the majority is going to be deemed digital asset securities, and they tuck it into the already distribution network framework that exists today for securities. And then you don't have to wonder if you made the right call or not about them, because the truth is that we already know that the securities framework, regulation, compliance, dealer broker network, that all works beautifully right now. And that's how I believe that Gary Gensler is seeing this market. And I believe it's taking another big step into coming to fruition. Listening to the BIS tell you that they give their full backing to central bank digital currencies, and that we are well on our way to getting those on and off ramps into our pockets and into our wallets on our phone for government dollars to really support the notion of where all of this is going. Let's keep listening more here.
So if an investor wants to trade on that Bitcoin, understanding it's highly volatile, highly speculative, but if they want to trade on that we have in place some investor protection. And that's what I was saying, I think, is a gap in our system right now.
And if you tuck that gap inside of the framework that exists for securities, like I said, write a few issuances for the fact that these tokens have a little bit of utility to them, for which Gary Gensler has said many times, the fact that some of these tokens have utility doesn't really mean much to him. The fact of the matter is they're still securities if they're laid out in a manner like we've gone over here many, many times.
But it's a gap in our system that needs to be addressed. By whom? Is that something that Congress will have to address? Because it's very possible Congress won't address it. And if they don't, is that something that you think you have an angle to address?
Well, I think that as it relates to Bitcoin, and I'm not speaking to all the other tokens right now, but as it relates to Bitcoin, while our sister agency, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, has some limited anti-fraud and anti-manipulation authority, there's no federal authority to actually bring a regime to the crypto exchanges. Whether it's stock exchanges or futures exchanges, there's regimes that were put in place in the 1930s to help protect against fraud and manipulation on the exchanges and protect the integrity of that. And I think that's really something that we'll be working with Congress, and if they see fit, to try to bring some protection for people that want to invest in this speculative asset class.
And there you have it right there. That's Gary Gensler, I believe, landing it down just about as clear as anybody could about how he's seeing this space. Now, let's continue to go on here. And don't forget, don't let me forget, I have something to show you here about Uphold from JP Theriot. We're going to see that before we get out of here today. You're going to love it. All right, so this is 6 of the world's biggest banks endorsed a new platform for international payments set to launch in November of 2022, about a year and a half from now, right, give or take, by SWIFT, the global interbank messaging network. Well, here it is. 6 of the world's largest or biggest banks endorsed a new platform for international payments set for launch in November 22 by SWIFT, the global interbank messaging network. Citibank, Bank of China, BNP Paribas, Deutsche Bank, BNY Mellon, Standard Chartered, for which we know the BNP Paribas, BNY, Standard Chartered, they're all fooling with Ripple. We know this. Right? Plan to use a new platform, announcement Thursday said. So here we go. SWIFT is a global messaging network connecting banks and other financial institutions for cross-border payments. It links more than 11,000 institutions, and in June alone has transmitted over 350 million messages containing financial information. The new platform is set to include features such as upfront validation of beneficiary details, extension of SWIFT's high-speed system to lower value payments, and incorporation of universal messaging standard for the international payments ISO20022. There have been suggestions that SWIFT could be made redundant by growth in use of digital currency, be it crypto, stable coins, or central bank digital currencies. Let's see if I have this right here. It's right here. And this is ISO20022, Shaping the Future of Cross-Border Payments, from Marcus Treacher at his time at Ripple. June 10th of last year, just about a year ago, damn near to the day, it was announced ISO 2022 is steadily becoming the global standard for world's cross-border payment flows. Ripple has been a leader in this shift, and our network, RippleNet, has been aligned with ISO 2022 standards from the start. Now we're thrilled to share that Ripple is part of the ISO20022 registration management group, standards body, and the first member focused on distributed ledger technology. This membership enables us to meet the needs of our 300 plus customers by helping define the future direction of cross-border payment standards to evolve the ISO 20022 standard. Through this membership, Ripple is able to contribute our experience and expertise in the application of the ISO 2022 standard to cross-border payments and its use in the DLT data structures in our standardized API. In fact, Ripple and our customers on RippleNet are pioneers using ISO 20022 for the cross-border payments. Adoption of ISO 20022 for domestic ACH RTGS payments has become widespread over the past 10 years, but so far its use by others has been limited in cross-border payments. ISO 20022 is a de facto global standard for modern payments messaging between financial institutions and payment systems. Already adopted domestically in 70 countries, it is estimated that 87% of global financial transactions will be supported by ISO 2022 by 2023. Now, at this point, I also remind you, so we got it on Swift end. We got our finger in the cookie jar there. Ripple's in that. That's not even a guess. Then we know we're piloting a private ledger for central banks launching CBDCs, for which the BIS just gave the full green, all steam ahead, right? Full steam ahead. That's where we're going. And this is where I sit today. And this is Rai right here. And I believe Rai said it just about as good as I say it on this channel. So if the BIS just announced that they're back in CBDCs, that means that the SEC and Ripple lawsuit was all a show and was only made to buy time. In one perspective, and there's many ways to look through this looking glass, I do believe that this is accurate. I believe that, one, we have to have legal precedent on these protocols, the networks, the XRP ledger. And I believe if it indeed, we know that there is a private ledger of the XRP ledger open source technology being used to launch these CBDCs that now the BIS is completely behind, then I really do believe that this is accurate in some way. And certainly the perspective on this doesn't have to only be this. Obviously, there needs to be legal precedent for these protocols. Obviously, there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement from government, like the Telecommunications Act of 1996, that acknowledged the fact that the internet protocols are in fact worthy and legitimate, right? This could be acknowledged by the FCC, and because these things not only move information, it would go beyond the FCC's acknowledgement, and obviously up on Congress, up on the Hill, they're going to have to get some kind of act together, whether it's an amendment to the Telecommunications Act or some other thing, and a complement of more than one piece of legislation, I'm positive. But I think it starts here. And then I also think you see the U.S. Treasury get involved, because the U.S. Treasury is going to deal with the fact that these protocols move money, not just information. Now, before we get out of here, here's some more information. This is JP Terriot, Greg Kidd, and Meg Nakamura, and Digital Asset Investor. And they're right here. And listen to him ask him about a timeline on when Uphold may go public. And I think this is fantastic.
All right. Hey, JP, how are you?
Good. How are you?
You know, it looks to me like you have like an awesome new logo there in the background. Is that true?
Yes, I actually, I didn't mean to put it up, but there it was when I logged into Zoom.
It has a pre-IPO look to it. To me.
Oh yeah, it might.
But I've been watching the Link 2 SPVs on the platform the last few months. And every time they go up there, they sell like hotcakes at $6.75. So I'm back to that liquidity event question. What I'm wondering is, I just want to know, I know that you're limited. And if you need to tell the lawyers to get out of the room, I'm fine with that too. But I was just wondering, in a perfect world, how does this go down? Does Uphold go IPO, or do they get bought by someone? I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
It's a good question. I think I think we would like to IPO in the sense that again, as Greg said, we feel it's pretty early innings. We feel we have a really good idea of where we'd like to go from here, and so creating an acquisition currency and a big pile of dry powder to accelerate that, growing through hiring and acquisition. That's our first choice, and I think the performance we've enjoyed for these past couple of quarters sets up very nicely for that. So if the world doesn't go totally nuts in the next 6 months or so, we'll be pursuing something in that realm.
Wow, that's pretty incredible right there. Shout out to JP and DAI for that information. But this is why I tell you guys about Link2, right? Because that's where you can get Uphold. And right now they just had another block come up. There's 64 series up there. So you can go ahead and check them out if you are an accredited investor. And if not, go see if you do qualify. You may and not even realize it. By the way, Kraken was on here and it was gone in a flash, I'm telling you, and so will this. So if you are accredited and interested in getting Uphold, I would not mess around. JP's looking at maybe a 6-month time frame. Something is in the midst here, and I don't know what it is, but it's got me pretty excited, I can tell you that. Another thing I want to show you before I get out of here too, by the way, is iTrust Capital. More than $1.5 billion custody, and they're using Coinbase as custody. If you want tax-free or tax-deferred crypto investment, well, this is your place to go for it. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Things are getting very, very interesting here, and I think we're headed on the right path to see exactly what we want to see, which is a proper regulated market for the digital asset class, which is a new asset class introduced to the world. All right, I'll catch all of you on the next one.